Hey, it's Stuart. I've met some really wealthy people that have built a lot of wealth just on modest incomes. And I've met plenty of people on very large incomes, maybe seven figures, that virtually have nothing to show for it. And it's not a measure of intelligence or how hard you work or the size of your income. It really comes down to really understanding the wealth equation, which I talk about in Wealth by Design. And it's a really simple equation. There's only three components, and it helps us understand what really builds wealth. And those three components compound. So the first one is a surplus cash flow, surplus investable cash flow. How much are you putting towards your financial future every week, fortnight, or month? Multiplied by investment efficiency, multiplied by time. And of course, if you're not putting any money towards your financial future, so that first component is zero, doesn't matter how efficient your investments are, because zero times, a number is still zero, right? And same with time, doesn't matter how much time you have. So the first component that feeds into the wealth equation is really important. Just as a side note, wealth efficiency is really about, investment efficiency, which is the second component, is really about how much return your investments provide and how much of that you keep. So it's really tax and fee drag. And then time is obviously the compounding capital growth. It does most of the heavy lifting. So what are the common mistakes that I see? Well, there's really two major ones. Firstly, lifestyle creep. And it's real, lifestyle inflation, whatever you want to call it. As your income rises, so does your expenses. And sometimes, hopefully it doesn't happen, but sometimes your expenses rise uniformly with your income. So that's what you keep spending all the money that you earn. Of course, you've got nothing left over to invest. And it's difficult, you feel like you deserve the holiday to upgrade the car, go out to dinner, do all these sorts of things. It's natural because you work hard and you want to get some enjoyment. And also, building wealth is a journey that we hopefully try and enjoy as much as possible. So you don't want to scrimp and save and then finally get to the end and have this big pot of money and then fall over and die. Of course, no one wants that to happen either. But lifestyle inflation is one of them. And then secondly, leaving cash flow management down to discipline. As instead of building a savings engine. So let me give you then two ways to sort of fix the cash flow management and build an automatic saving engine. So the first one is about the data, and you can use, I wrote a blog on this recently, you can use Claude, to really pull apart your expenses and find what should your expenses be, where is the waste, if you're spending on things that aren't really adding to your standard of living, or enjoyment, then of course they're a bit of a waste. So cancel those subscriptions, and often it's a whole bunch of very small transactions, and we find that difficult to get our head around conceptually. So, something like ChatGPT or Claude will do a great job at pulling your expenses apart and giving you those insights. And then you need to, using those insights, automate. Pay yourself first. So, whether that's a direct salary credit or whether it's an automatic transfer, transfer whatever you're going to do in terms of investments automatically. So it might go into a share trading account and you're automatically going to buy certain ETFs each month. And it's completely automatic. You don't need to worry about it. Or it might go into a savings account, an offset account, additional super contributions, whatever it might be. Work out how much you want to invest each week, fortnight, a month, and just automate it. The second thing you can do from an automation systemation perspective is separate discretionary and non-discretionary expenses. You can't really overspend on discretionary expenses, non-discretionary expenses like school fees or mortgage repayments or utility bills. They are what they are. It's the discretionary expenses that you really need to worry about. So if you have $1,000 a week to spend on discretionary expenses, transfer $1,000 a week into a separate discretionary expenses account, and everything that's discretionary, whether you go to Coles or Woolworths, whether you go out to dinner, whether you're buying takeaway coffees or lunch at work, whatever it is, if it could be $0 this week or $100 next week, it's called discretionary and it should come from that account. So that's the first thing, is to automate it. The second thing is to come up with a spending philosophy. And this is really important, particularly is a whole point of building wealth is to give us flexibility, enjoyment, a better lifestyle, better enjoyment, all these sorts of things, better work-life balance. So when you're young and starting out, the payoff for saving $1 extra is huge, right? Because if I'm 20 years old and I save, an extra $100 and I invest it in the share market for the next 40 years, the compounding benefit of that is huge. So there's going to be times in your life where you're going to prioritize saving over, going out to the pub or going out to dinner and enjoying life. But there's going to be a time where your capital contribution is no longer really moving the dial. So if I've been saving and investing really hard for the last 15 years, for example, and I've accumulated a really strong asset base, then it's likely that all I need is time. In terms of the wealth equation, the contribution element is no longer important. It's really investment efficiency multiplied by time. That's going to do all the heavy lifting. So that's why I think you should come up with a spending philosophy that when it's really important, you'll knuckle down and you'll invest. But once you've done that hard work, you'll give yourself permission to invest less and even start spending some of that capital. And I think it's really important because what we want to do is enjoy the investment journey, not necessarily just wait for the destination. So this is rule number 3 in Wealth by Design. In the comment section, the description section, I've included a link where you can read a little bit more, as well as a link to Amazon where you can buy the book. Anyway, I hope this is of interest, and please, if you don't subscribe to our channels, please do, and I hope to share more videos in the future. Cheers.